Somewhere in a quiet apartment, a man is sitting by his window. The lamp glows yellow, throwing a tired little circle of light onto his desk. His coffee went cold an hour ago. He hasn't touched it. In front of him, on a single sheet of paper, an equation stretches across the page. Symbols. Just symbols. They don't describe anything you can eat, anything you can run from, anything you can hold. He's trying to figure out why the universe behaves the way it does. The city outside, fast asleep. Now picture a savanna. An antelope lifts its head, listens, sniffs the wind for lions, then drops back down and keeps chewing. That's it. Detect, run, eat, sleep. 50 million years of evolution, and that's the whole job description. In a forest somewhere, a crow tucks a seed under the roots of an oak. Clever. Practical. Survival stuff. None of them, not the antelope, not the crow, are awake at 3 a.m. Solving equations no lion ever asked. But you are, or someone like you is, right now, somewhere on this planet, a human being is staring at a problem that has nothing to do with food, nothing to do with safety, nothing to do with sex. And the brain in their skull is burning calories for it anyway. Why? Why does the human animal, alone among millions of species, sit in the dark, chasing answers the world never demanded? Your brain is doing something it was never asked to do. And tonight, we're going to figure out what happened. Here's the thing about evolution. It's cheap. It's brutal. It doesn't keep what it doesn't need. Take the cavefish, locked away inside dark Mexican caves for somewhere around 10,000 years. And what happened? Their eyes stopped working. Then their eyes stopped existing altogether. Useless organs get deleted. Penguins held onto their wings, sure, but only as flippers. The sky was off the table. Whales. They walked back into the ocean and traded their legs for fins. Evolution is an accountant. Every gram of tissue has to earn its keep in calories. And then there's your brain. About 20% of your body's total energy. Every minute, while you sleep, while you do absolutely nothing. It's the most expensive organ a mammal has ever evolved to lug around. Now here's where it gets strange. Over the last 3 million years, fossil records suggest the human brain tripled in size. Tripled. In an organism whose ancestors were getting by just fine with something smaller. Tripled, while no other mammal on Earth did anything remotely close. This wasn't gradual tuning. This was something breaking. Something pushing back against the rules. Evolution doesn't build skyscrapers for animals that only need huts. Rewind. 2 million years ago. East Africa. The sun's blazing high over a yellow plain, and a small group of Homo habilis is crouched around a carcass, cracking bones open with stones, getting at the marrow inside. Their brains. Roughly 600 cubic centimeters of tissue. Enough to make tools. Enough to coordinate a hunt. Enough to survive another season. This should have been the ceiling, honestly. It should have ended right there. Most species, once they stumble onto a working design, they stay put for millions of years. Sharks have barely changed in 100 million. Crocodiles, older than dinosaurs, still wearing the same body plan. But something happened to those bone crackers on the savanna. Their descendants' skulls started to swell, generation after generation, at a pace researchers describe as unmatched in the mammalian fossil record. Homo erectus 900 cubic centimeters. Heidelbergensis 1/200. By the time anatomically modern humans walked out of Africa, The number had climbed to 1,350 cubic centimeters, more than double in roughly 1.5 million years. Now ask yourself the obvious question. What were they doing out there on that savanna that needed all this extra tissue? Hunting antelope. Lions do that with brains a fraction of the size. Building shelters. Beavers manage with way less than that. So the real question isn't why we became smart. The real question is what pushed this machine past the point of necessity. Somewhere on that savanna, something broke the rules of survival. Back in the 1990s, an evolutionary psychologist named Jeffrey Miller looked at the human brain and saw something that didn't quite fit. He saw a peacock's tail. Now, the peacock's tail makes no survival sense whatsoever. It's heavy, it's loud, it practically waves at every predator within a mile. By every rule of efficiency, that tail should have been erased a million generations ago. But the peahens, they love it. So the tail stays. The tail grows. The tail becomes a monument to being chosen. Miller's claim was simple and a little uncomfortable. Maybe the human brain is the exact same thing. Not a tool. Not a weapon. A display. Picture a man 17,000 years ago sitting by a fire. The hunt is done. The meat is cooking. And he starts telling a story about a spirit living in the river. About how the moon was once a woman. About a child who became a star. He's not feeding anyone with this story. He's not making them safer. But around that fire, someone is listening. Someone is choosing. A few hundred kilometers away, in the caves at Lascaux, a woman is dragging ochre across stone, drawing a deer. She's using time, energy, pigment, none of which fills a stomach. And yet someone, somewhere, watches her work and thinks, I want to be near this mind. Poetry doesn't kill mammoths. Jokes don't dig up roots. Music doesn't scare off hyenas. But all three, Miller argued, signal something invisible, a brain rich enough, fast enough, surprising enough to be worth mating with. So the brain grew, not for the lion, for the lover. Each generation, the slightly wittier ones survived not because they ran faster, but because they were wanted more. And being wanted, they had children, and their children inherited the spiral. We didn't get smart to hunt. We got smart to be chosen. But there's another answer. And this one comes from an Oxford anthropologist named Robin Dunbar. Dunbar noticed something quiet and kind of devastating, buried in the primate data. Across monkeys, apes, lemurs, across dozens of species, the size of the neocortex tracked one variable with eerie precision. Not territory size, not diet, the size of the social group. The bigger the troop, the bigger the brain. Every single time. When Dunbar plugged human neocortex volume into the same equation, the number that popped out was 150. 150 stable relationships. That number has a name now, Dunbar's number, and you've been living inside it your whole life. Your contact list. Your wedding guests. The faces you can place without effort. Now picture a band of 150 humans 50,000 years ago, gathered around a fire. To survive in that group, you don't need to know how to throw a spear. You need to remember that Oren owes Tama a favor, that Tama is sleeping with Oren's cousin, that the cousin's father humiliated your father last winter, and that the old woman by the fire, the one nobody speaks to, actually controls who eats first. That's not arithmetic. That's a political matrix, running in real time, updated by the hour, with consequences for every meal and every mating. Wait, Think about what that actually means. Chimpanzees manage troops of around 50, wolves closer to 30, lions, maybe a dozen. Only the human animal carries a living social network of 150 inside its skull. Every face tagged, every alliance tracked, every betrayal remembered for years. Your brain isn't a calculator. It's a society simulator. And the people who couldn't run that simulation, they didn't get exiled in some dramatic ceremony. Nothing that clean. They just weren't fed. They weren't defended. They weren't chosen. Their genes quietly stopped. There's a third theory. And honestly, it might be the most disturbing of the three. It's called runaway cultural evolution. Here's the idea. Once a brain crosses a certain threshold, the point where it can copy what an elder does, store it, refine it, and pass it on to the next generation. Culture stops being decoration. Culture becomes selection pressure. Culture starts editing the genome itself. Picture a Neanderthal boy, around 12 years old. He's got to learn how to flake 7 different kinds of stone tool. He's got to memorize the smell of 200 plants. Which ones heal? Which ones kill? Which ones feed? He's got to read the tracks of 40 animals across 3 different kinds of ground. He's got to know the songs that name his ancestors going back 6 generations, because forgetting a name means forgetting an alliance. And forgetting an alliance means starving when winter hits. The boy who learns fast lives. The boy who learns slowly dies. Not from a lion, from his own tribe outgrowing him. And here's where the loop closes. Each generation accumulates a little more tools, more plants, more songs, more rules. So the next generation has to learn even more, even faster, with an even bigger brain. The pressure doesn't ease up, it compounds. If you're still with me, and I really hope you are, hit subscribe, because what's coming next is going to change how you see the thing behind your own eyes right now. No individual could stop this. No tribe could opt out. Once the spiral existed, every brain on Earth that couldn't keep up got quietly removed from the gene pool. We didn't choose this acceleration. We inherited it, mid-flight. Researchers estimate this feedback loop may have driven the final, sharpest jump in brain size the last 500,000 years. The years that gave us symbolic thought, language, religion, and eventually, equations on paper. At 3 a.m., once the spiral started, no individual brain could stop it. But here's the question the sharp viewer is already asking. What happens when this engine built for predators, built for alliances, built for survival, has nothing dangerous left to chase? Watch a squirrel sometime. It buries a nut in October and just walks away. It doesn't picture February. It isn't lying awake at night imagining a winter where the snow drags on too long. It doesn't suffer December in advance. Now picture yourself, 2 a.m., eyes wide open, ceiling above you, and your brain is replaying in crisp, high definition a stupid sentence you said when you were 17, a face you'll never see again, a bill that isn't even due for 3 weeks. The same machinery that let your ancestors predict a dry season, a migrating herd, an enemy creeping up the valley, that same machinery, with nothing real left to predict, now manufactures regret, manufactures rumination, manufactures that low, constant hum of dread about a death that's decades away. Foresight built granaries. Foresight built calendars. Foresight built the entire idea of next week. And then Foresight turned around and built insomnia. The same engine that built civilizations now builds insomnia. The lazy answer is to just say, well, of course, bigger brain, smarter species, top of the pyramid. The human brain is the masterpiece of evolution. Case closed. It isn't. The blue whale carries a brain weighing somewhere around 8 kilograms. It does not write poems about its mother. The elephant carries a brain near 5 kilograms. It grieves at its dead. It remembers watering holes for decades, and yet it doesn't invent calculus. It doesn't build cathedrals. Doesn't stay awake at 3 a.m. worrying about anything. Sperm whales have the largest brains on Earth. They've been running their societies peacefully for millions of years without a single industrial revolution. So size isn't the answer. Architecture is. The way information folds back on itself, loops, refers to itself. That's where the strangeness actually lives. And here's the harder truth. The human brain may not be evolution's crowning achievement at all. It may be its accident. 3 forces sexual selection pulling at it, social politics pushing on it, cumulative culture pressing down from above, all locked into a feedback loop with no off switch. We didn't climb to the top. We fell into a spiral and kept falling upward. Every cathedral, every symphony, every spacecraft, every line of code ever written. These weren't the goal of the process. They're the exhaust. Side effects of a machine running faster than the savannah ever asked it to. We are not the masterpiece. We are the overshoot. Right now, as you sit there watching this, your brain is doing things you never asked it to do. It's judging the tone of my voice. It's comparing me to someone you used to know. It's running a small, quiet anxiety about a message you still haven't answered. It's predicting what you'll eat tomorrow. It's measuring how tired you are and adjusting the volume of every single thought accordingly. You didn't request any of this, and you can't turn it off. That's why you can't simply stop thinking. That's why meditation feels like wrestling something. That's why, on some honest evening, you've looked down at your dog asleep on the floor and felt something close to envy, because the dog doesn't regret. The dog doesn't rehearse old conversations. The dog doesn't imagine its own funeral. You do. And it's not because you're weak, or anxious, or broken in some way that needs fixing. It's because you're operating a supercomputer that was forged on a hot plane against lions, against hunger, against shifting alliances 2 million years before anyone invented Wi-Fi, interest rates, or the comment section. Your software is ancient. Your terrain is brand new. You are not broken. You are running ancient software on modern terrain. Go back to the man at the window. The yellow lamp is still burning. The coffee is still cold. The equation on the page is still unfinished. He hasn't moved. He isn't ruining his sleep. He isn't malfunctioning. He isn't doing something wrong. He's doing exactly what 2 million years of selection built him to do. Stay awake. Chase a pattern. Refuse to let the question go. He's a primate, alone in the dark, wrestling with a problem no lion ever set for him. And he can't stop, because the spiral that started on a savanna 2 million years ago is still turning, right there, behind his eyes. He isn't an exception. He's the result. Look up for a second. Researchers estimate there are around 8.7 million species sharing this planet with us. Bacteria in your gut. Fish in trenches no light has ever reached. Birds that navigate by stars. Insects older than flowers themselves. Only one of them is sitting up at 3 a.m. writing equations. In something close to 4 billion years of life on Earth, in a sliver of time so thin it barely registers in the rock, a machine made of meat finished its survival work, and then turned around and asked why it existed in the first place. The brain that was built to survive is now the brain that wonders why. And maybe that's the strangest thing evolution has ever made. You are evolution's most beautiful accident. If this changed how you see the thing behind your eyes, subscribe. Next week, we decode another evolutionary glitch you carry around in your body every single day.